According to the Centers for Disease Control, over 600 Americans die each year due to accidental carbon monoxide poisoning. On average, an additional 10,000 people are hospitalized due to exposure to CO. And these are only the reported cases. Authorities acknowledge there are likely many more thousands of people who are significantly exposed to CO, but don't know it, or never seek medical treatment, or don't have their CO poisoning symptoms diagnosed correctly. Carbon monoxide is obviously a very real health and life safety problem for our customers, who look to the HVAC industry to keep their indoor environment safe and healthy. And since the gas, oil, and propane-fired appliances we sell and service can cause or contribute to CO buildup in the home, it is essential that we be very knowledgeable on this issue. Carbon monoxide alarms are one important element, and this two-part training program will explain what you need to know. The learning objectives of Part 1 of this training program are: 1. To review the need for CO alarms and how this relates to HVAC contractor liability. And 2. To review the troubled history of UL-listed CO alarms and the real limitations they have when it comes to protecting your customers. And finally, number 3, explain the difference between false alarms and nuisance alarms. For a complete understanding of all the issues relating to carbon monoxide, we encourage you to watch all the training programs in this Comfort Institute Combustion Safety Training Program series, and to attend our many training classes. Since CO is poisonous, colorless, and odorless, at Comfort Institute we believe every home should have at least one electronic carbon monoxide alarm, even all electric homes. This is also the position of many consumer protection authorities, such as virtually all fire departments, the EPA, the Centers for Disease Control, and the Consumer Product Safety Commission. And in many cities and states, local codes now mandate the installation of CO alarms. As we discussed at length on our previous video program, Sources of Carbon Monoxide, there are many possible sources. Some of the most common significant ones are: 1. Vehicle exhaust infiltrating from attached garages. 2. Unvented gas appliances such as gas cook stoves and ranges, space heaters, gas fireplaces, or gas logs. And 3. Vented combustion appliances that are malfunctioning, worn out, venting poorly, backdrafting, or otherwise letting the carbon monoxide get into the indoor air. These include furnaces, boilers, water heaters, gas clothes dryers, and vented wood or gas-fired space heaters and fireplaces. Then there are many other less common sources that have been implicated in carbon monoxide poisonings and deaths. These include gas or charcoal barbecue grills, outdoor power equipment such as lawnmowers, snow blowers, or weed trimmers, pool or spa heaters, gas-powered electrical generators, and commercial equipment such as forklifts. Any of these can increase indoor CO levels if they are operating in an attached garage or adjacent to a building. Even an electric oven can produce high levels of CO when self-cleaning. Again, because of the wide range of possible sources and the significant health and safety effects of CO exposure, every home should have at least one working carbon monoxide alarm. And it is our duty as indoor comfort and air quality specialists to recommend them. There's an ongoing debate in the industry as to whether an HVAC contracting company decreases or increases its liability by selling and installing CO alarms. At Comfort Institute, we believe that on balance, offering CO alarms, coupled with vigorous client education and periodic retesting, reduces your liability. Here's why. HVAC contractors can certainly strive to provide quality installations of combustion appliances and offer routine servicing and inspections. These steps reduce the possibility that equipment you're involved with will produce CO or contaminate a home. However, once you leave the home, are you really immune from liability related to any future CO incident that might occur? The answer, unfortunately, is no. There are many ways an HVAC contractor can be held liable in the event of a CO incident down the road. And it may only take one such incident to put you out of business. Some may be your fault. For example, your company made mistakes during installation or during service or maintenance. Even many otherwise excellent companies occasionally have a job go bad. Training and quality control systems are essential, but people are an integral part of the business, and that means mistakes can happen. A carbon monoxide alarm going off may bring a bad installation or service mistakes to light, but that's a lot better than having it come out during a coroner's inquest. The new furnace or air handler you installed could create negative pressure because of pre-existing duct leakage and the closing of interior doors. Negative pressures in a mechanical room can backdraft a furnace, boiler, or water heater. Negative pressures in the house can backdraft a fireplace or suck in CO-contaminated air from an attached garage. New HVAC technologies, such as bigger circulating blowers, more powerful ECM motors, and zoning dampers on basement supplies, but not on the returns, are making this happen more often. Sealing a duct system or installing a new one can also inadvertently cause similar problems. Offering and installing CO alarms helps ensure your liability is reduced from these possible situations. Many other possible causes of CO are things you have little direct control over, but connect back to you. Unfortunately, the HVAC contractor is usually the first on the list to sue if there's a CO problem. For example, CO could be created by incompetent service by a homeowner, handyman, or a competitor on a system you installed or serviced in the past. Or the homeowner may have had no service or inspections at all by anyone since you put it in. A problem develops and you get blamed. Or a bird's nest or other debris accumulates to block the chimney between your inspections. Remember, an 80% furnace common vented with a water heater can spill its entire cycle out of the water heater draft hood without its pressure sensors ever knowing there's a problem. Perhaps, after you leave, the house is made tighter with new windows and siding. Or they install large kitchen exhaust fans, or powered attic ventilators, or whole house fans that unintentionally suck air from the combustion appliance zone. Your system may then be exposed to significant negative pressures and backdraft or spill into the home. Then there's an infinite number of stupid things done by homeowners or other trades that could affect the safety of a system you installed. We've come across many hazardous situations where homeowners had blocked off combustion air intakes or built tight walls around the appliances during renovation. It's also common to find B-vents that have been knocked apart by roofers. Gas fireplaces are a new growth area for many contractors. However, unvented fireplaces in particular have been known to create high levels of CO, whether due to poor installation or misuse by the homeowner. Finally, a death or poisoning could be caused by something unrelated to the HVAC, such as an electric generator or barbecue, but mistakenly blamed on the equipment you installed or serviced. Although you might be able to defend yourself, the costs can be significant. In all these cases, an appropriate CO alarm would alert the homeowner of any increase in CO levels in the house air and keep a bad situation from getting worse. The objective is to identify problems before they become severe. Offering to install one at every opportunity, or even insisting on including one on installations and duct repairs, reduces your liability. It also increases profits. Of course, the flip side is that you do incur some liability if a CO alarm you sold doesn't go off when it should. The chances of this happening can be minimized by recommending the right alarm and by offering a periodic retesting service, as we'll go into in Part 2 of this program. Up until the early 1990s, the only way for homeowners to warn themselves of CO exposure was to use cards with a chemical spot that changes color when exposed to CO. These unfortunately have many drawbacks, notably a very short life, sensitivity to other chemicals, and no warning alarm. In the early 1990s, a number of companies started selling low-cost electronic carbon monoxide detectors for consumer use, conforming to a new Underwriters Laboratory standard, UL 2034. Having automatic audible alarms offering around-the-clock protection from CO These seem to offer great promise, but their history has been something of a roller coaster ride. The Consumer Product Safety Commission launched a large PR campaign, and the manufacturers ran massive campaigns using scare tactic TV ads. CO alarms quickly became available at retail stores everywhere. The industry really took off when the city of Chicago mandated the installation of CO detectors in residences beginning October 1st, 1994. Then a funny thing happened. By December 20th, 1994, the Chicago Fire Department had logged some 8,500 calls relating to CO detector alarms and found that 86% of them turned out to be so-called false alarms. Then, on December 21st, 1994, Chicago experienced a temperature inversion and subsequent smog problem, and all hell broke loose. More than 1,800 calls were made to 911 within 24 hours, almost all of which turned out to be false or nuisance alarms. Other cities experienced similar problems. Los Angeles recorded some 3,300 nuisance alarms in 1 month. The Minneapolis Gas Company reported receiving several thousand calls a year, over half initially seeming to be false alarms. So what was happening? What was the cause of these false alarms? Were the detectors malfunctioning? Well, yes and no. It's important to distinguish between true false alarms, where the alarm sounded but there was no CO present, and what fire departments and utilities call nuisance alarms, where low levels of CO were actually present. Let's look at true false alarms first. The first generation of CO alarms that used colorimetric or metal oxide semiconductor sensors were very prone to false alarms, due to many factors. Inaccuracies at high or low ambient humidity, cross-sensitivity to gases and vapors other than CO, increased sensitivity as the sensor ages, and smoke, contamination, and even insects that crawled inside the sensor. The metal oxide semiconductor alarms, notably the early Nighthawk models, became very sensitive to CO at high humidity levels and can go into full alarm at relatively low levels of CO, even the low levels infiltrating from outside during a smog alert. And while many early CO detectors would go into alarm when they shouldn't, many others would not go off when they should. Here's a statement from a Gas Research Institute study on CO alarm accuracy in dry air. Quote, "The sensitivity of retail CO alarms depends strongly on ambient humidity. In particular, several brands of CO alarms fail to alarm at life-threatening CO concentrations when exposed to humidity typical of the indoor environment in the wintertime." End quote. The Consumer Product Safety Commission did tests that revealed that some units would fail to alarm even at life-threatening CO concentrations of 1,000 parts per million or more. Many of these units were recalled. For example, Nighthawk had to recall 1 million units in the 1990s. Depending on which sensor technology was used, the homeowner could get false positives or false negatives. Fortunately, many alarm manufacturers have responded to the accuracy problem by moving up to the more reliable acid-based electrochemical sensors. Most current electrochemical models can accurately measure CO regardless of humidity levels. While not perfect, the chances of one causing a false alarm, or not alarming when it should, is now much lower. However, it's important to know that a UL listing is still no guarantee of quality. The standard itself is still flawed, and UL's listing and certification policies are questionable. UL still lists many CO alarms that have been proven by independent testing to be inaccurate and unreliable, and not even meet its own standards. A CO alarm can pass the UL testing that requires it to alarm at fixed CO levels, but the alarm may not go off under conditions of varying CO levels. UL also does not require enough time of manufacturer testing or any lifetime reliability testing. It does not require internal electronic monitoring for failure of the sensor. Even a good electrochemical unit may not alarm at all if the sensor has passed its useful life, or may fail in full alarm when exposed to other interfering gases. Finally, remember that there are many older alarms in your customers' homes that may not alarm or may create a false alarm. We'll explain in detail how to pick a good CO alarm in Part 2 of this program and how to field test older alarms. Let's now look at what fire departments and utilities call nuisance alarms. A nuisance alarm is one where carbon monoxide was present, but not in a high enough concentration to create an immediate threat to the occupant's life. Fire departments see their first priority as saving lives. They often have much more urgent demands on their resources than responding to a low-level alarm. And if a large volume of calls came in simultaneously due to either false alarms or nuisance alarms, it can overwhelm their response capabilities. A genuine emergency may not get a fast response if the trucks are all tied up on a false or nuisance alarm call. Gas utilities have a similar attitude. They certainly don't want to be called out on false alarms, and they consider many low-level alarms to be nuisance calls. This is definitely the case if the cause of the CO was not even related to the natural gas they sell. For example, vehicle exhaust from an attached garage, or a wood stove or a propane barbecue. They are generally more concerned about low levels caused by a gas appliance. But even here they seem to often want to turn a blind eye to low-level exposure, especially from unvented appliances. Whether a false alarm or a nuisance alarm, gas utilities and fire departments want to minimize the number of unnecessary emergency calls from homeowners. In the year 2000, primarily at the request of utilities and firefighters, Underwriters Laboratory finally released a revised UL 2034 specification. For a CO detector to now be UL approved for residential use, it must not alarm until CO levels are relatively high over a relatively long period of time. For example, a UL listed alarm could be exposed to up to 69 parts per million almost indefinitely and not go into alarm mode. This means that the new UL listed retail store alarms might save your life if they are working properly, but they will not alert you to lower CO health damaging levels that may be present in the home over long periods of time. I'm sure this has made the firefighters and gas company folks very happy, but it sure didn't please us at Comfort Institute, or anyone else who understands the very real health hazards of chronic low-level carbon monoxide exposure. We believe that the risk of long-term, low-level exposure is too great to justify using alarms that won't warn the occupants that even low levels of CO are present. While there's not much you can do about CO from outdoor city smog, virtually all other sources can be identified and eliminated. A CO alarm should act as an early warning that something is wrong, so you have time to do something about it. Well, that's it for part 1 of this training program. In part 2, we'll explain the health effects of low-level CO exposure, share with you the features, benefits, and operation characteristics of a low-level health monitor alarm product, teach you proper location guidelines for placing CO alarms in homes, and share with you some of the proven techniques to sell CO alarms and low-level monitors to your customers, including how to test old alarms in the field to see if they'll still work. We'll see you on the next program.